think I know almost everybody, except you in the back. I'm Reed Michelson. I'm the instructional technologist here at the college. I apologize, I had a little bit of a cold this weekend, so my voice may get out at some point, but I'll talk until that happens. Today I'm sort of giving an introduction to Camtasia, including some talk about the quizzing feature, which I've had a lot of people express interest in. But I also had a lot of interest from people to just talk generally about Camtasia too, so I was going to go over both of those things, and like I said, I'll try and keep it short today. The one thing about this presentation is that Camtasia is not installed on this computer or my computer. It's only available in the lab upstairs in B513. So I'm going to talk about a lot of things that Camtasia can do and show some examples. And then show, if we have time or if you're interested, there's about a 6-minute video that is better than anything I could produce about how the quizzing feature is used in Camtasia, so we could watch that and I can answer any questions. But again, if you actually want to use Camtasia, you have to make an appointment with me and come upstairs, unless you have Camtasia installed on your own computer, which a few people do, but it's like $100, so it's not widely distributed. I'm just going to go over what is Camtasia, the different parts of Camtasia, when to use it, and when maybe to use Panopto, which is our other alternative. And then, like I said, I have about 5 examples that I'll highlight different features, different ILMs that use different features of Camtasia. And then I'll explain how to get started in the lab upstairs with me. So first, what is Camtasia? It has 4 major features to it. It's a screen capture software, so it can record anything on the screen. I'll go into that in a minute. It's a video editor. If you've ever heard of like Adobe Premiere or Windows Movie Maker, it can edit videos just like those. Although it's geared towards editing screen captures, it can also edit any video you throw at it. It's a visual effects editor, so it adds visual effects. I'll talk about that shortly. And then it has this live quizzing module, which is kind of cool. So first, as screen capture software, it can record the video and audio of a PowerPoint that you have on the screen. And by video and audio, I mean video of whatever you're doing in the PowerPoint, including moving your mouse around. And then it records the audio if you have a microphone plugged in. And this is how we create voiceover PowerPoints. Camtasia was originally purchased by the college about 2 years ago because we had quite a few people who were interested in doing voiceover PowerPoint ILM presentations, but the voiceover features that are built into PowerPoint, they work okay, but they didn't work very well for distributing these PowerPoints to students that were full of audio files, and it just created very large, hundreds of megabytes large files that students were having trouble downloading. So Camtasia allows us to record that voiceover and make it a standalone video separate from the PowerPoint file that can then be put on a video streaming service like Panopto or Vimeo. So Camtasia is similar to the part of Panopto that records the screen, but we actually use Camtasia and Panopto in tandem sometimes when we create videos in Camtasia and then upload them to Panopto to be distributed and viewed by students and anybody else who is your audience. Camtasia also records anything else happening on the screen, much like Panopto does again. It's, in this regard, it's pretty similar. But what Camtasia can do that Panopto can't do very well is be a full-fledged video editor. As I mentioned, you can bring in third-party videos or any actually third-party audio sources, images, all sorts of things, and you can mix them up with your screen captures to make a more rich ILM experience for the student. Camtasia also is much better at that very fine-grained video editing. Panopto can do this, but it can only really edit out chunks of time, whereas in Camtasia you can do things that are useful in ILMs, such as slowing, say, a video of an EKG down, or repeating it several times, creating multiple takes of something, and then also just basically it makes it very easy to correct your mistakes. if you mispronounce something or misstate a fact, it's very easy to go back after the fact and re-record just that little clip and make a much smoother presentation. As a visual effects editor, Camtasia can add annotations like text, shapes, arrows, highlights. My favorites are blurs and pixelations. In other words, it can actually blur out parts of your video that you may need to, especially in the case of showing actual live patient information like a chart, an x-ray, any sort of imagery that may include patient information up in the corner like a name or a social security number. It's very easy to do that, and it creates a safe version of that image in a video file that the students can't then go back and take the, or anybody in your audience can't then go back and take the pixelation off, which would violate patient privacy. Anyway, it also allows you to manipulate the video itself and add zooms, slow motion, repeats like I mentioned. It's really great for also teaching, like on a computer. If you're showing things about a program, you can zoom into certain parts of the screen. So it's pretty powerful in that regard. And then the quizzing module is a way to add these brief multiple choice or open-ended quiz questions right in the video. It actually creates a flash module that sort of sits on top of the video and pauses the video when you get to a point where you want to ask a question to your audience or the students. They can type in a response, and then the video continues after that point. So I wanted to show you Camtasia's introduction to this feature. It's a little businessy because it's like they're trying to teach you how to do it here or explain it. But actually, let me grab the link there. There we go.
With the all-new quizzing feature in Camtasia Studio 8. Adding a quiz to your video is a simple way to engage your viewers with your video content. Use quizzing to assess and grade students, collect viewer email addresses, or allow your audience to leave feedback on your video. With options to add multiple choice, true and false, fill in the blank, and short answer questions, you can be sure you're always asking the right questions. Quizzing takes place directly in the video type. No external websites or messy sign-up required for you or your viewers. Receive reports directly to your email to gather information, like how much of the content was viewed, how your viewers responded, all in an easy-to-manage spreadsheet. And with screencast.com, you can be sure your quiz will be available on any device for quizzing at home or on the go. Don't take my word for it. Try the free trial.
Okay, we're going to talk about this free trial. He mentioned screencast.com. That's TechSmith, the company that makes Camtasia. That's their video production or video streaming website. But we use Panopto here at the college, and we also occasionally use Vimeo for public-facing things. So I wanted to show you a sample here of an actual quiz, the same one that he used in the video there. This is just very short. It includes just a couple questions, but while you're watching this, imagine how you could expand this into something that included more questions. So a student is presented with a simple web page like this. It wouldn't include all the stuff around the sides, although you could embed it into any other website. We could put this on the college website, we could put this on the intranet, you could put this on your own personal website, or in the case of one of the things we've done previously, we had a standalone link that students clicked on and it brought them to a website that was blank except for the video. So the student would come to it and they would click on the play button, and then they would see information on the screen. This is not applicable to the quiz question so much, but they would see information on the screen, they would hear you talking, and then they would, the video, if you notice, stopped here at the little dot on the timeline, and it pops up with this thing that says take the quiz now. If the student wants to review what they have presented or what's been presented previously between the last question and this one, or between the beginning and this one, they can just push replay last section, it replays, and then it asks them if they want to take the quiz. As soon as they push take the quiz, it pops up with this little flash bubble that asks them a question. As he mentioned in the video, they're true or false questions, which are essentially just a 2-question multiple choice. Fill in the blank, and then a short answer, where they can type a short answer to something. I wouldn't recommend asking them to type multiple paragraphs because it will not only take a while, but the report you get will be pretty complicated. But for short answers, it works pretty well. So the student is able to answer, yes, the sky is blue, then they can submit the answer. If they want to double check it again, they can view it, but then the video continues. It gives more information, and then it pauses again when it reaches the next quiz question. And they push take the quiz, and in this case, it's going to ask us 2 questions here. So it's going to ask them in order. What's the smallest planet in our solar system? Check Mercury. Push next, it asks the next question. What's the largest planet? I'm going to click Jupiter, and then I'll submit the answers and continue, and then the presentation finishes. It's not set up in this example. Actually, there is one more quiz question, which one is not the name of a shuttle. I'll submit the answer, continue, and then the presentation is over after all the quiz questions have been answered. On the back end, you can set it up so that those quiz questions, after they're answered, are emailed to you, the creator of the video, in, like they mentioned in the explanatory video there, in a spreadsheet format for you to review. You can also turn on a feature where it asks the student or whoever is viewing to input their email address and name at the beginning. That way you can associate the quiz questions with the person, or if you just want to anonymously collect the information, you don't have to do that either. So this is just an example of the quiz. I'm going to continue here, and then in a little bit we'll look at a more complex version of this that was used in our curriculum this last year. Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't provide the correct answer right there in the quiz module, but as I'll show you in the example later, you can put the correct answer in as a slide immediately following the quiz question. That's a real good way to do it. So I want to just go over some of the reasons. I get this question all the time. Why would you use Camtasia if we have Panopto and you can install it on your own computer? Well, Camtasia can do a lot of things that Panopto can't do. Use it if you need to create an ILM that uses more than just a simple PowerPoint, or if you want to create an ILM that doesn't use PowerPoint at all, and you want to include just third-party sources or Prezi or some other system that you'd like to use. It's good if you need to include third-party video clips, any external audio, or basically anything from another source. It's good if you need to make complex edits to your ILM, if you need to add annotations, shapes, arrows, everything I talked about, or especially if you have an old ILM, like one of those video or voiceover PowerPoint files that includes embedded audio in each slide. Camtasia is what we would use to convert that to the more modern MP4 format that we would use in Panopto or Vimeo. Also use Camtasia if you are unable or don't want to install Panopto on your computer. Quite frequently I hear from people who have a institutional laptop that they are unable to install any programs on. And if you can't do that, rather than struggling to try and get Panopto on your computer, if you have time to come up to B513 where our studio is, I can provide like full service recording and editing support. My office is right next door, so I'm able to come in and help you do the recording and do the production at the end, do any editing. And then especially use Camtasia if you are uncomfortable speaking real fluidly into a microphone, because with Camtasia, as I've mentioned, you can make those fine edits. So if you make mistakes, especially if you're a first time recording, first time using a microphone and a headset, you can frequently stumble over your words. And Camtasia allows you to edit out a lot of those mistakes so that the final product sounds much more polished than you will probably expect. So as I mentioned, I've got a couple examples here. I showed you this little quizzing example from Camtasia, but I wanted to show you what an ILM using a third-party video looked like. So this is one that we made about a year and a half ago, and it's it starts out looking like a basic ILM. Dr. Giancola was talking about how to do suturing. And he goes through, I'm going to turn the volume down here a little bit. He goes through and explains like you would normally do in an ILM with a PowerPoint. But towards the end, he's actually was able, using Camtasia, to import third-party videos from the sim lab and then narrate over them, even though he wasn't narrating at the time. When this was happening, he was able to watch this video in Camtasia and then record the narration live on top of the video. So he's describing how to do various suturing techniques here. This is something we can only do in Camtasia because it accepts those third-party videos. So the other example I wanted to show is a Khan Academy video. Many people have probably heard about this, and it's a Khan Academy. He's pretty famous. He records these instructional videos. He started out doing just videos for elementary school kids, but now he's all the way up into like advanced biology and physics and all sorts of things. One of the reasons we purchased Camtasia was because Salman Khan himself uses Camtasia to record all of his videos. And in this case, you've probably seen this. I'll just let this play in the background while I'm talking. He is recording his screen using Camtasia and using a program called Sketchbook with a drawing tablet. You may have seen those. It's a little stylus-based peripheral for your computer that allows you to just draw things very precisely on the screen. We actually have the same kind of drawing tablet in the recording lab. So if you want to create a video like this that includes your narration over drawing pictures, we have all the equipment that's available to do that up in B513. A few people, nobody's done a full-fledged ILM like this yet here, but we did do one where it was a side-by-side video of somebody talking with handwriting. It ended up being my handwriting because I was the most used to using the tablet, describing what they were doing with handwriting on the right side of the screen. So it was pretty cool. Another example I wanted to show is the culmination CVI. This was kind of the first example, or the first Camtasia project we did that included quizzing. So I kind of learned alongside Dr. Nigaman here, and she did it for the culmination CVI and the PRAB block this last year. I'll show an example of what it looked like, and then maybe if you would like to, Dr. Nigaman, explain how you used it in the curriculum. What I have here is actually we've taken the quiz parts out because we didn't want the students to keep submitting answers to it after the fact. We may want to use it again next year, but this is a video version of it. It involved cooperation with media services. They did a lot of recording of the video. You don't necessarily have to involve media services. They have very high production values. So it took a while, but even if you have just basic video you've recorded on your phone or something, we can include that in Camtasia and then intersperse it with PowerPoint slides and quiz questions like we do here. So this culmination CVI was basically a case all the way through over a couple days of a patient, and there's audio for talking here. These are all actors. They were all very good. And then partway through the video, we had overlaid with annotations. Like I mentioned, Camtasia can include annotations. And then we went to basic slides like this that explain things like the patient history and some of the lab results. And then we would get to a point where the students would have seen a few minutes of the patient describing her complaint, all the information here, and then the students would be presented with a question, which should be coming up here in a few seconds, I believe. And the students were told that they could, of course, pause this at any time and review any of that information. It goes by pretty quickly. We're able to, like I mentioned, pull in third-party images, not third-party images, but images from other sources, like an EKG there. And then the student was presented with this kind of a question: what is your interpretation of the EKG? And we put a little timer. You can create animations in Camtasia. So we put a little timer up in the corner there that gave them about 7 seconds to think about the question. Of course, like I said, they can pause it before the timer is up. And at the end of the timer, like I said, unfortunately I don't have the example here, we had to turn it off, but just like we saw in the previous quiz example, it would pop up with that exact question: what is your interpretation of EKG? The students would type in their interpretation, and they couldn't see the answer, which comes next, until they hit submit. So their answer comes up after they've submitted their quiz question that it's atrial fibrillation. After this, they can be asked more questions. I believe we included like 25 questions in this. And then it was interspersed again with more live video of this case as it progressed. So Elaine, would you like to talk about how you use it?
A couple comments. One is that there was so much potential in using this program, and the option that the team of us that developed this particular case, we wanted to provide immediate feedback to the students. So when they answered the question, they got the answer right away, but certainly that can be delayed. And then based on the course of the case, they kept being asked more and more questions. And they could work all by themselves, or they could work in groups up to 4 people. And we developed this one so that it wasn't really graded. All they had to do was to take the exam, or to complete the CBI. And what was so interesting and good for me, for my education, was to review their answers. That was really helpful. So
Yeah.
it was great. It was great. There's great potential. I look forward to doing that.
Yeah, I remember watching when we kind of beta tested it with some second-year students. This was intended for first-year students, but we tested it with some second-year students, and they watched it all the way through. And it does spur a lot of really good discussion amongst people. In the case of the CBI, they were presented this in groups. So we put them in a room that had a TV screen on the wall, and we had one person submitting the group answer for everyone. The other way that you could do it is, of course, send the quiz to each student via a link like this, or actually it was a Google link that included the quiz questions, and then each student could answer it independently on their own. I suppose the one thing you'd want to avoid is having students sitting in the same room and one student fast forwarding through the video and seeing what all the answers were before anybody else was able to answer. So just keep in mind it's not really meant for high stakes quizzing, as is Poll Everywhere isn't meant for high stakes quizzing either. But it's good for spurring discussion. It's good for giving the students a way to sort of self-assess as they're going through your information.
And one other nice feature of this is that I thought it was a great opportunity for the students to assess the clinical application. They were given information, the history and physical, their lab data, chest x-rays, and then they had to apply it to the case and come up with their answers. So it was really a good opportunity for them to apply their knowledge and get any video feedback.
So again, this was kind of the first go we had at the quizzing, and I'm eager if anybody else wants to try it out. It'd be kind of cool to use it again. The other example I wanted to show is not quite as exciting, but it's something that Kathleen Carlson made to explain how to do a lit review using PubMed. And the reason I wanted to show this example that was done with Camtasia is that this shows how the zooming features that I talked about worked. If you're presenting something on the computer and obviously it's really small text, you can use Camtasia, even though you're recording the full screen, to zoom in on certain portions of the screen. So let's see if she does that here. Yeah, see? The video zooms in to the point where it's legible to the viewer, and then you can zoom out again. You can highlight things. That little AHSL logo that she put up there previously, that was an annotation added in Camtasia.
Did you do that zooming while you were recording?
No.
Or did you go back later?
All the zooming and all of the annotation can be done afterwards. So there we go. That little circle, that was an annotation that was added in Camtasia as well. So it just makes it a little more lively to watch something when you're screencasting or explaining something to the students, especially if it's on the computer. If you're doing a PowerPoint, the zooming is not so necessary because most people design their PowerPoints with pretty big text. But if we're in some other source, this is a really useful feature to use.
Development of a PowerPoint and then have a script basically planned out and then
Yes.
what would you anticipate that after PowerPoint's ready to go and you have your script ready to go? What would that give you some quizzes?
Yeah, so that's just going to talk about it here. It's to get started with this, you'd want to make an appointment with me, and then I can help you through the whole process. Honestly, doing it in Camtasia, if you have a time crunch and you're available to be here, is really the quickest way for me to get something in and out the door. I do say 2 to 3 weeks there, but if it is an emergency, I can do it pretty quickly. Doing it in Panopto, of course, if you can do it on your home computer, you can upload it directly, but we run into a lot of tech support issues with people not being able to upload or connect. Camtasia is pretty fail-safe in that if you're available to come, I only get a few appointments a week, so the room is generally available to use. Like you mentioned, the best thing to do if you're going to come record an ILM in Camtasia or in Panopto, but especially in Camtasia, is to write out a script or some kind of storyboard in order of what you'd like to present. And then even if you're going to pull in third-party videos or third-party imagery or things like that that aren't included in your PowerPoint, you can still record just the PowerPoint to start with, and then we do all the additional adding in of videos and imagery and stuff after the fact.
Are there any outside videos that we wouldn't use? So like in my particular situation, if I wanted to show the spontaneous delivery and it was on YouTube, is that fine?
Yeah, that generally falls under fair use if you want to pull it off of YouTube. Camtasia can actually be used to pull videos off of YouTube. Many people have asked me to do that before, and it's pretty easy. You just play the video full screen while the Camtasia recorder is going, and you have a video file that you can easily drop in to your Camtasia production. Of course, you can also just pause partway through your presentation and open up the YouTube video and record if you'd like to narrate over it, which is something a lot of people do. If there's anything sensitive in the video, like a patient name or a face, Camtasia makes it really easy to redact that. As I mentioned at the beginning, you can put a pixelation or a blur right over the video, and it works really well. It's just like you'd see a pixelation on TV. And then we can also crop out certain sections of the video if you don't want those included. Say there's a title or something at the bottom that you don't want, we can crop that out of the video very easily. Yeah.
So just like the other thing you just showed is, so you have the Camtasia recording when you pulled up the website, and so that doesn't have to be in your PowerPoint. That
No.
can be done directly.
Yeah. Yeah, and any time you spend in the lab there pulling things up or trying to open things, we can edit all of that out. So it's a very smooth transition from item to item. I always recommend people, if they're doing an ILM for the very first time, to come and try Camtasia. I mean, the only inconvenience is that it's only available unless you want to pay $100 to get your own copy. It's only available on our recording room computer up in 513. But if you are available here on campus and you'd like to use it, people find that it's pretty easy. Plus, I'm there and available to help you. I don't go to people's houses at night and help them with Panopto, so Camtasia is a pretty good way to go. Is there any other questions about how to use it? Or yeah.
So the quiz questions would all be entered after you record?
Yes.
You would storyboard it out and say, here's where I want to have the question, and you would help us with that.
Yeah, we add all the quiz questions afterwards. We try and do all the editing of the quiz, or all the editing of the video first, so that every little take and everything's perfect about it before you add the quiz questions. Because if you make edits after the fact, then you have to move the quiz questions around to make sure that they stay lined up. We went through about 7 drafts of the culmination CBI because of that. So I always recommend to do that. I think in, because it's 12:35 here, I think I will include the link to the full-on like deep dive into how to do the quizzing part in in this unless you all want to watch it. But if you don't have, again, we don't have an example of Camtasia to pull up on the computer here because it's not installed on all the computers. It's only upstairs. So I'll include a quiz to that or a link to that video in the materials and have it sent out to all of you if you'd like to watch. But yeah.
You might posted, but where posted, is it in value, is it in
Oh, sure.
where is it posted to
So,
the student?
so when you create a Camtasia video, it just creates a video file, an MP4 that's can sit on a desktop or on a hard drive. And then once it's created, we can upload it to Panopto, or we can upload it to YouTube or Vimeo. It's independent of the whatever service it's used to deliver to the students. Generally, we would take a Camtasia video, upload it into Panopto, and then put the Panopto link into Phoenix Med for the students to view. And that works pretty well. For public-facing videos, people, if you have an audience that's outside of the U of A, we would use Vimeo for that because anybody's able to watch Vimeo. We don't usually use YouTube, just because we don't. And a lot of people don't find it as professional a platform, but it's certainly available if you'd like to use it. Mm-hmm.
This option is inserted into the video. Does that not allow for moving forward and you stop at that point until you answer the question, or do you make it public?
No, you're stopped at that point. You have to answer the question. If you want, you can always create. Oh, and this is the other thing: is once you've answered the question, you don't see it again. So you can still go back and review see how there's no quiz questions in this video. If I were to refresh the video, if I were to refresh the quiz, then it would put the quiz questions back in there.
So if they log in the student by email into either Phoenix Med or whatever platform we're using to post it, will that report's going to be sent to us, but will they, like you just said, be able to go through that without seeing?
No, if they're looking at it for the first time, they have to answer the quiz questions to move through the video.
And then the next time it would just be without questions.
The next time, I mean, if they're watching it in the same session, at this, like sitting down at their computer, they could watch it again. But then, if they wanted to come back the next day and they refresh the page, the quiz questions will be on there again. In the one example we've done that's been distributed to the students, the very first question we asked was, "What's your name and email?" So most students weren't inclined to do it all over again and submit a whole new set of questions because that would show up in the report that you get that they had submitted it. It's time-stamped, so it would say that the student had done the quiz and watched the video at this time. If the student did it again, you would get another line item in that report that showed they had done the quiz over again. So you could take advantage of that if you want, if you wanted the students to take the quiz multiple times.
I get that. Well, I wanted to look at it again, but I had to go through the whole thing and get all the questions.
Oh, so what you can do is post a version that doesn't include the quiz questions. That's really easy to do, and then make that available to them. Again, you wouldn't want to use it for a high stakes thing, so you'd want to maybe make the non-quiz version available to them simultaneously. But say, take the quiz if you'd like to self-assess.
One thing I would do differently on the next one, I will do differently, is make it shorter. Ours turned out to be 39 minutes total.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time the students discussed it in their groups, they spent an hour and a half. So it was too long, and I would make it shorter.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to make it long. Let me make it.
Yeah, the students are very. They seemed really. I suppose it's a good thing. They were eager to get the right answer, so they spent a long time on each question discussing the answer. Yeah.
I think you said the quiz questions were flash-based?
Yes.
So can they still do it on an iPad?
That's a good question because there is actually an app for Camtasia quizzing available in just, I believe, the iOS App Store, so it's not Android. But yes, if they have an iPad, they clicked on a quiz link, it would jump them over to the Camtasia app that's for free for them to download, and then they could take the quiz on their iPad.
And you said it was screen capture.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were drawing on the screen, will you capture that? I know it
Mm-hmm.
captures the mouse because that's kind of hard
Well, so it will capture, like, if you use the pen tool in PowerPoint, it'll capture that. It'll capture anything displayed. To get technical here, it'll capture anything on the display layer of the computer. It won't capture something like a few of the rooms, I believe, have those, or like the lecture halls have those things that you can turn on and draw on the screen. It's not going to capture those. But you wouldn't want to be doing Camtasia in a live lecture anyway. I mean, it's not meant for recording a live lecture. It's meant for ILM production. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. The pen feature you can use with, maybe I'll show you that because not a lot of people are aware it's there. But when you're presenting a PowerPoint in presentation mode, there's a little tool in the lower left that allows you to turn on a pen that you can use to circle things. And people, a couple times I've seen people use that in Camtasia. Most of the time people are willing to just use the cursor, the mouse, to highlight things, and Camtasia will record anything that you do when you're highlighting something. But if you'd like to use the pen, or if you'd like to use the drawing tablet that we have available in the lecture recording room, it's a little easier to be more precise with that. So if I'm in a presentation mode here, even though the screen is blank, I don't think I have any text on the slide here. There we go. This little tool down here, that's a pen, it allows you to draw on the screen, and Camtasia will capture all of that. So it's a kind of a quick and dirty way to do like what the Khan Academy does. In his case, in the Khan Academy videos, he uses a program called Sketchbook Express, which we also have installed on a computer upstairs, which allows you to use different brush shapes and different colors and erasers and all sorts of things. So I'd encourage anybody to try it if you're interested.
I actually just watched that same video recently, and there was periodic flash after you watch. Is that like?
That's probably when he's.
Clearing the screen, but what was that?
Oh, I'm not sure what the flash would be. I mean, he edits his videos so that it's smooth through, but he may like redraw something or erase something, and what you're seeing is the cut between after he made a mistake. So he's not perfect at drawing either.
You're the person in the movie theaters that sees that little circle.
You're seeing the edit. Is there any other questions anybody has? Like I said, make an appointment with me if you're interested to use it, and if you're interested in doing the quiz part, I'd be really eager to help you with that. And I can do a one-on-one training, even if you don't have an ILM right now. I make an appointment, and I'm willing to do one-on-one training in the room upstairs. So thank you very much. And there's handouts back there if you didn't get them that describe kind of how to get started.